Starting off this countdown, we have the tabloids. According to a number of big news tabloids, Millie Bobby Brown has actually changed a lot because of her success with Stranger Things. There's a side of her that we don't get to see, but they do when conducting interviews. One source revealed, and I quote, "Brown was cool, aloof, and downright rude during promotional events for season 3 of Stranger Things. So much so that her publicist had to give her a little lesson in how to deal with media and fans." Well then, that's pretty awkward. Coming in at number 9, we have David Harbour. The bond that Millie's character Eleven and David Harbour's character Jim Hopper have on screen is incredibly beautiful. They are very close and share a deep love for each other. It's safe to say that in the show, they both saved each other in different ways. But outside of the set, the relationship is different. They both still love and care for each other, but David is very concerned about Millie. He's afraid that the fame and public attention will get to her head. In a podcast, David said, and I quote, "I have a real worry. I worry about her and the fame and all that she has to struggle with." David revealed this around the same time that Millie was facing a number of scandals, which we will be talking about next. In our 8th spot, we have Hunter Echo. Now, this is one of the scandals that I was talking about, and it's probably her biggest one. In July of 2021, during a live stream, Hunter Echo drunkenly admitted that he groomed Millie and that he did acts with her. Millie was 16 at the time, Hunter was 20. The age of consent is 18, but Hunter argued that everything was consensual, and Millie's mom and dad knew everything. He even said that he lived in her house for 8 months. Still, the relationship was very inappropriate. And later, Millie's team said that they are taking action against Hunter and his claims as they were dishonest. Either way, Hunter had some nasty things to say about Millie. In the end, he got himself in big trouble instead of exposing Millie. In our 7th spot today, we have Drake. Now, this is another pretty weird controversy that Millie was involved in. It all started when it was revealed that Drake and her were pretty close and that they were frequently texting each other, which is weird because of their age difference. Like, Drake's in his 30s texting a teenager. And fans pointed out that Drake met one of his exes when she was a teenager and then later dated when she was of age. Anyways, according to Drake, Millie has a lot of boy trouble that he helps her with. Even Millie admitted in an interview that Drake helps her with her boy drama. When asked about what kind of boy drama, she said that it stays in the text messages. In our 6th spot, we have the stardom. Another tabloid revealed that Millie is having a hard time handling her stardom. They said, and I quote, "Millie has turned into a rude star and is unable to handle the stardom on her own." There are multiple videos of her interviews where people declare that Millie never leaves a chance to be in the spotlight and always interrupts her co-actors, which shows that she is being selfish and arrogant. End quote. Now, we will be talking about these interviews later on, but it is true. Whenever the Stranger Things cast does have an interview, Millie always takes the lead, preventing her co-stars to get a word in. And when they do talk, she often cuts them off and takes over the conversation, leaving them pretty annoyed. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with her behavior. According to some sources, Millie has already become a diva. Apparently, Millie's attitude was fine during Stranger Things season 1, but as soon as she got all the attention, her attitude changed. She started trying to behave more adult-like for the press, and a lot of people aren't here for it. In fact, she has been called cringy for it. It also makes it hard on set if she thinks she's top tier and the best. In fact, some people have labeled her as one of the most annoying actresses. Coming in at number 4, we have Jacob Sartorius. The two dated in 2017 for a few months. Millie said that when they broke up that it was mutual, but it seems like Jacob was pretty hurt over their breakup. In fact, he apparently wrote a number of songs about Millie, including the song "We're Not Friends," and the lyrics definitely call her out. Some lyrics go as so: "You're bad at seeing signals, girl. I've never introduced you to a single girl. And everything I do around you is on purpose, putting in the work for ya, hoping that it's working. I spent about a year just playing my part. I'm picking up the pieces to your broken heart." He also goes on to sing, "Girl, I wanna give you more than good advice." Yikes. Jacob? Yikes. Who knew Jacob had it in him? Coming in at number 3, we have Sadie Sink. Now, according to Millie Bobby Brown, Sadie Sink is one of her closest friends. However, there have been a number of incidences between the two that make us think that Sadie isn't the fondest of Millie. First off, let's take a look at this clip from an interview with the Stranger Things cast.
Because I mean, it was fun, but like, because Sadie got to see how like crazy I am when I'm 11. Like, I'm just like, you know, always really like deep in thought, and so like working together for the first time was like really fun.
I feel so sorry for her. Like, look at how walled up and awkward she gets when Millie cuts her off. And if you watch other interviews, she continually does this with Sadie, and Sadie's face says it all. In our second spot today, we have Caleb. Now, during the same interview, Caleb, who plays Lucas Sinclair on Stranger Things, I guess noticed that Sadie wasn't talking and kind of shied off. So he kind of called out Millie and asked Sadie if she wanted to say anything.
Sadie, do you want to talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
What you guys set it off.
Had he not said anything, Millie would have just continued to talk the whole interview without letting Sadie get a word in. And in our number one spot today, we have Caleb Part 2. During the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards, Sadie, Caleb, and Millie went on stage to accept the award for Stranger Things. And well, take a look at how that went.
And obviously, you guys. I mean,
Millie literally couldn't wait her turn and prevented Caleb from saying anything. After which he kind of just gives a look like, really? Really, Millie? And it was captured all on live TV. Also, Millie doesn't even turn to apologize or anything. I don't even think she realized that he tripped in the back.
First up, Chris Hemsworth and Don Cheadle. Chris Hemsworth and Don Cheadle did an interview with Larson in 2019 to promote their latest film, Avengers Endgame. But it was clear during the interview that Hemsworth and Cheadle do not like Brie Larson, and anytime she spoke, they made their disdain very clear. While speaking to Entertainment Tonight, the trio got on the topic of stunt doubles, and Hemsworth stated he does a lot of his own stunts, but not the more dangerous things. Larson then chimed in that she does all of her own stunts because she believed that's what everyone else did. Hemsworth even mockingly praised her as the next Tom Cruise, as Tom Cruise famously does all of his own stunts. Many felt it was rude that she butted in to make those comments while Hemsworth was praising the work of his stunt doubles. And worst of all, the quartering later exposed that Larson did use a stunt double and she wasn't even telling the truth. Then the topic of which of their superhero characters was the strongest came up, and Larson replied, quote, "There's no competition for me because I'm the strongest." In response, Hemsworth said, quote, "We'll let her think that." Then there was an incident with Cheadle. While Larson was talking about something involving the three of them, Larson started hitting both men with their elbows in a playful way, kind of like this thing. But it was obvious that Cheadle was not having any of it, and even flat out told her to stop, not in a playful way. Body language experts broke down the interaction, and it was clear that he was not pleased. One expert named Mandy O'Brien made a video breaking down the entire interview, criticizing Larson's appearance and behavior during the Marvel movies press tour. During the interview with Cheadle and Hemsworth, O'Brien said that the men were relaxed, while Larson's body language was domineering and stiff. O'Brien felt that Larson was trying to be taller than the men, essentially trying to dominate them, which obviously is not a behavior that will develop a friendship between coworkers. O'Brien added, quote, "I guess in her mind, domination equals acceptance. In reality, submission will get you a lot further in friendship circles than trying to dominate and boss everyone around." Next up, Jeremy Renner. Clearly, Brie Larson is not very good in interviews, and she had another awkward interaction with her co-star, Jeremy Renner, during an interview. The topic of discussion was being a celebrity and being conscious of their platforms. Larson responded, quote, "I'm committed to self-improvement. I work at being the best person that I can be and using this platform for as much good as I can. That doesn't mean I don't make mistakes, but I'm very comfortable with that, allowing myself to learn from those mistakes." During the conversation, Renner looks completely annoyed, like he is holding back an eye roll. When it's his turn to speak, Renner says, quote, "I'm pretty accountable and responsible in my own life at any rate. Celebrity is not something I use any sort of platform to be more responsible or accountable, I suppose." Basically firing back at Larson's idea that being a celebrity means she needs to be a voice for social issues. Next up, fan boycott. Following all the backlash against Larson and the clear dislike of her by her co-stars, it was not a shock to see that petitions popped up trying to axe Larson from the next Captain Marvel film. Unfortunately for fans, the movie did get a sequel starring Larson, but it was clear that Marvel made some changes to please their fans and made the sequel named The Marvels instead, meaning instead of solely focusing on Larson's character, the movie would also showcase other Marvel superheroes. eyebrows. And it's very clearly a demotion from her last role. Based on the performance of this upcoming film, her time with MCU could end for good. And this is not the only project that Larson has been demoted in. The Marvel animated series named What If also demoted and replaced Larson in the show. The show features Marvel's biggest stars like Michael B. Jordan, Sebastian Stan, and Tom Hiddleston. However, Larson was shockingly replaced in the series by up-and-coming actress Alexandra Daniels. Daniels opened up to her fans during a Twitch stream about getting that part in Marvel's animated series, saying, quote, "When I auditioned, they were looking for a Brie Larson voice double, so they sent a clip of Brie Larson from the movie, and I was like, cool, I can do that. And I did it, and like a month later, they were like, you booked it, and that was my first voice job ever." She continued that she thought she would not get any credit because she was just going to be a voice double. But then she was surprisingly given credit in the first episode, and it was clear that she was going to be a real character. More bad news for Brie Larson. And finally, Brie Larson herself. Back in 2018, Brie Larson got in a huge scandal when she was accused of being a, quote, white man hater after a slew of questionable interviews. After she was cast as Captain Marvel, the predominantly male fanbase was not happy. According to Screen Rant, a small group of extremely vocal fans pushed back at the female-centric film. Then Larson made some comments about diversity and gender that made matters much worse. In 2018, while accepting an award at the Crystal and Lucy Awards, Larson decided to comment on the fact that so many movie critics are white men. She said, quote, "I don't need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him." She went on to speak about the movie A Wrinkle in Time, saying that it was not made for white men, and she wants to hear what women of color think about the movie. She repeated that she, quote, "does not hate white dudes" throughout her speech, rather she just wants diversity. Even though she got some heat for those comments, she doubled down on them a year later in an interview with Marie Claire UK. She said about the topic of movie reviews, quote, "I started paying attention to what my press days looked like, the critics reviewing movies, and noticed it appeared to be overwhelmingly white males." These comments sparked backlash from men's rights groups who tried to start a boycott against Captain Marvel. In 2019, Cinema Blend reported that Larson clarified her comments by saying, quote, "What I'm looking for is to bring more seats to the table," although many felt she took a stance of exclusion rather than inclusion. Brie Larson also got the attention of all her haters when she launched her own YouTube channel. Her first video was called "So I Made a Decision," announcing the channel. It got great views, over 500,000 in less than a day, and over 127,000 subscribers. But the dislikes on the video were very high. In that time, the video raked up over 50,000 likes, but 18,000 dislikes, with some of the comments saying that the dislikes should be way higher. One comment read that when they first saw the video, it had 18,000 dislikes, but when they came back to it about an hour later, it only had 17,000 dislikes, so 1,000 less, meaning that she was potentially covering it up and getting rid of them somehow. This was even more proof for her haters that she was just a liar. Another scandal that got Larson in some serious heat was when she lied about her casting in Captain Marvel. Fans respect that she has to keep it a secret for the sake of contracts, but the way she went about it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. According to Cheat Sheet, a month before Marvel confirmed that Larson had been cast as Carol Danvers and the 2016 Comic-Con, a reporter asked her about the upcoming movie, trying to get the inside scoop on the role. To the question of if she was playing the role, Larson responded, quote, "Who's Captain Marvel?" She continued to play dumb, saying, quote, "So I would be playing a man? I'm down to play Chris Evans. Oh wait, no, Chris Evans is Captain America. Who's Captain Marvel? I have no idea what I'm talking about." Since they announced only a few days later, it's clear that she knew what was going on. But the annoying way that she went about it really rubbed people the wrong way. In at number 10, Katherine Kelly Lang. An old clip from a TV show has just resurfaced, and it shows some celebrities talking about Ellen's mean streak years before it happened. Soap actress Katherine Kelly Lang and entertainment reporter Richard Reed had the conversation on a 2019 episode of I'm a Celebrity. When someone asked who the biggest mole in Hollywood was, Reed whispered, quote, "Ellen, not nice." Lang agreed, saying, quote, "She's great to watch on her show and everything, but I think her personality is completely different when you get her behind the scenes." Reed then replied, quote, "I've heard it's hard to work on her show." And after exposing Ellen like that, I'm sure the two stars did everything possible to avoid her. It's crazy how much they knew though way back in 2019. In at number 9, Nikki Tutorials. Nikki DeJagger, aka Nikki Tutorials, was the first and probably most famous influencer to sound the alarm about Ellen. And obviously after exposing Ellen like that, Nikki hoped she would never run into her again. Nikki appeared on the show after her coming out video went viral online. However, later on a Dutch talk show, she exposed the experience was not what she expected. When asked about the Ellen show, she said, quote, "Let me say there's a big difference between this show and Ellen DeGeneres, and I'm saying that in favor of this show." Adding, quote, "It's nice that you say hi before the show." She didn't. Nikki later told the Dutch magazine NC, quote, "Call me naive, but I kind of expected to be welcomed with confetti cannons. Welcome to the Ellen DeGeneres show." but instead it was greeted by an angry intern who was a bit overworked. Nikki knew that she would be blacklisted from Ellen's show and possibly many others for telling the truth, but we are all glad that she did. In at number 8, Dakota Johnson. Dakota Johnson is probably a little bit scared of Ellen right now because her name is synonymous with the takedown of Ellen. After Ellen announced that she was leaving her show, memes of their interaction started to go viral online. And it's clear that Ellen probably hates Dakota right now. The spat between them started because of Dakota's birthday party. Basically, Ellen called Dakota out on the show for not inviting her to the party. But Dakota clapped back that she actually did invite Ellen. This put Ellen totally on the spot, where she had to come up with a lie very quickly. Dakota later awkwardly called Tina Turner her favorite comedian as well, which was kind of a Ellen. Dakota also flat out said in the interview, quote, "I didn't even know you liked me," to Ellen. I'm sure Dakota never expected her comments to go viral the way they did, and Dakota is hoping that she doesn't see Ellen anytime soon. Or at least I know if I was Dakota, I would literally do everything possible to avoid Ellen for the rest of my life. In at number 7, Brad Garrett. Back when Ellen was first exposed, one of the only celebrities to call her out was the Everybody Loves Raymond actor Brad Garrett. He exposed her in a slew of tweets because he was clearly fed up with her behavior. He wrote on Twitter that her behavior was not a shock to him or anyone else in the industry for that matter. He replied to a tweet about the Ellen scandal and added, quote, "Sorry, but it comes from the top, the Ellen show. No more than one who were treated horribly by her. Common knowledge." His tweet is now deleted. Garrett had appeared on the show multiple times before he made his statements, but clearly he didn't have a great experience and knew those comments would ruin his relationship with Ellen forever, but clearly he didn't seem to care. In at number 6, Caitlyn Jenner. If you watched the last interview Ellen did with Caitlyn shortly after her transition, then you definitely know why Ellen will not be having her back on the show. Caitlyn even claimed that Ellen told her she was blacklisted. In her memoir, The Secrets of My Life, Caitlyn called out Ellen specifically for, quote, alienating her from the LGBTQ community by not allowing Caitlyn to come on her show. However, many could argue that Caitlyn alienated herself because of the controversial comments that she made in that interview. In the 2015 interview, Ellen asked about Caitlyn's stance on gay marriage. She replied, quote, "I have to admit that I remember 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whenever it was that whole gay marriage issue came up, I was not for it." Adding, quote, "If that word marriage is important to you, I can go with it." And from Caitlyn's tone, it didn't seem genuine to Ellen, and Ellen called Caitlyn out on her hypocrisy, as Caitlyn wanted to be respected for being trans, but Caitlyn was still being apprehensive towards gay marriage. After this spat, it was clear the relationship was incredibly tense. Halfway at number 5, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin has actually gotten into multiple feuds with Ellen, so I would assume both of them avoid each other at all costs. Kathy exposed Ellen in her book, Celebrity Run-Ins, My A to Z Index. In that book, Griffin called out Ellen without saying her name, saying, quote, "I'm almost positive a certain beloved daytime talk show host once had me kicked out of a backstage dressing room at the Emmy Awards." Griffin basically confirmed it was Ellen when she added that this person, quote, "has short blonde hair and a mean streak all of Hollywood knows about." But this wasn't all. After Joan Rivers passed away, Griffin feuded with Ellen once again because of her decision to not do a memoriam segment on the comedian. Griffin said, quote, "There's so few female comics over 50. I wish we were better at supporting each other." In at number 4, Callum Scott. Callum Scott exposed Ellen following her scandal for an awkward moment that he had before going on her show. He told the Daily Star Online that right before he was about to go on stage, he was walking with a stage member. Scott was telling the Ellen crew member, quote, "I told him I can't believe I'm getting to do this." And he was like, "Yeah, it's so amazing, but remember not to look Ellen in the eye. Everything else is fine, but just don't look her in the eye." Scott was obviously taken aback by this and wasn't sure how to respond, but moments later, Ellen's staff said that they were actually just joking and it was some sort of prank. And that's just a very strange prank considering many people claimed this was a real rule that Ellen had for her staff. And even if it was just a harmless prank, that's a really stupid prank to make to someone who is incredibly nervous to be going on stage and performing. In at number 3, Celine Dion. Celine Dion had a very awkward encounter with Ellen while she was on her show, and it left many of Celine's fans with a bad impression of Ellen, probably including Celine herself. While Celine was being interviewed, Ellen showed a picture of Celine's son that had very long hair at the time. Ellen said, quote, "Look at him. He is beautiful, but look at his hair. When are you gonna cut that hair?" Celine instantly clapped back saying, "You got a problem with that?" Adding, quote, "Some people shave the head of their children and people say, oh, isn't that terrible? I don't even cut my son's hair and they say, oh my god, when is she gonna cut her son's hair? You know, whatever I do, I won't please everyone." And you could cut the tension in that conversation with a knife. Celine has been back on the show since that incident, but I'm sure Ellen treads very lightly in her conversations now. In at number 2, Drew Barrymore. This one is probably going to be hard for a lot of you to believe, but apparently Ellen and Drew Barrymore do not like each other. And when they worked on the same show together, they butted heads a lot. The show was NBC's First Dates that launched in April 2017. It was executive produced by Ellen DeGeneres and narrated by Drew Barrymore, so clearly a star-studded group. But according to In Touch Weekly, their relationship was not good. A source told the Meg, quote, "Ellen and Drew were a case of oil and water." Adding, quote, "Ellen expected to be the one calling the shots, but Drew thought she should have creative control because she's the movie star people were tuning in to see." The show only aired for 1 season, so thankfully they didn't have to work together long, but now that Drew is in the daytime talk show business, I'm sure Ellen is even less fond of her. And finally, at number 1, Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan feuds with a lot of people, and unsurprisingly, Ellen was one of those people. Their feud is actually because of Katy Perry. Basically, for Katy Perry's birthday in 2017, Ellen wished her a happy birthday on Twitter, writing, quote, "Happy birthday, Katy Perry. It's time to bring out the big balloons." Ellen included a photo of her staring at Perry's breasts jokingly, but many people did not think it was funny and labeled it as a form of sexual harassment. Some even compared Ellen to Harvey Weinstein. A lot of men in the industry also spoke out against it, saying the situation would have been a lot different if a man tweeted out the same thing. One of the most vocal critics was Piers Morgan, criticizing her for the sexist double standard. He also feuded with her in 2016 after she showed a shirtless picture of Chris Hemsworth during an acceptance speech. With Morgan writing, quote, "I was disgusted. In fact, I've never been so offended by anything in my entire life."